Good evening, viewers and listeners. I'm Adekunle Shokunbi, a medical doctor by profession, and I'm live right here on EXV radio and TV. It's nice meeting us at this moment, and I'm here to share with us part of our health series which we are starting today. Today's topic is titled The Essence of Hand Washing. Hand washing is quite germane to our health status in these present times. And just as I used to tell everyone out there or in different fora I've had cause to speak, that whatever it is we can pick out from today's talk, it's important we make use of it, understand it, and even share to other members of our close-knit, either in the community, either at our places of work, or any other social gathering that we may have cause to find ourselves. Hand washing is quite important, just as I said earlier on, and it is emphasized by the fact that we need to take care of our hands and doing the right thing so as to prevent the spread of infections or disease-causing organisms, which are more or less also called germs. You understand that the use of our hands is quite important in many places that we go, be it at home, be it places of work, be it other places we may have cause to meet friends and families alike. Is it in the course of taking care of the home, or is it in the kitchen that you have to wash dishes or take care of other things, or perhaps wash it and use it to eat? Or even in the handling of instruments or equipment at our places of work. Or perhaps we even shake hands with our friends and colleagues or other places that we may go. So the hands are used for diverse things that you may think of. And so you must understand that in the course of using these hands in different places, we are touching either surfaces, we are shaking hands, we are getting contact with germs or disease-causing organisms from friends and all of these surfaces. And so these same hands that we use, we also extend it to other persons. And so that is how diseases or germs are spread from one place or person to another around the globe. And so this we must understand. Now, you want to understand some casualties that not washing the hands might have caused and which we need to know. I'm not here to scare us, but just to bring to us the need for us to do the right thing after we've understood all of this. According to the World Health Organization, it's been stated that over hundreds of thousands of persons have died as a result of not washing their hands, or because they have contracted one form of illness or the other that are linked to appropriate washing of hands. So also, it's been known that some persons have come down with minor illnesses or end up in hospital admission, all because of not washing their hands appropriately. So this tells us why it is important that we need to wash our hands. Just as I said, I'm not here to scare us, but we just must do the right thing and never ever trivialize the reason or the need for hand washing. To go on, we must understand that there are organisms that can be spread by our hands, or as we get our hands onto different places and surfaces. Disease-causing organisms, as I said, or germs. And this may vary from bacteria, viruses, or sometimes parasites, and even fungi, as we may deem it fit. And so all of this cause infection. And now, moving on to how do these organisms cause infection? Or how do we spread these organisms to cause infection? But before talking about the practical ways through which these organisms can get into our system and cause infection if we don't wash our hands. It is also important to stress that there are what we call fomites. That's FOMITES. These in medical cycles, these can be described as either surfaces or objects through which we share with the next person and on which microorganisms can be on them. And so, any of these surfaces or these so-called fomites, when we touch them or share objects between ourselves and the next man, the likelihood of spreading disease-causing germs are there, or is there rather. Now, some of these fomites include the door handle in our respective homes, the car keys or the own keys that many of us handle at a time, being passed from either the father to the mother or the mother to even the children. You understand? Even the table surfaces at our homes, if not well cleaned, or even on table surfaces in our kitchen as well. You must understand this. Then, of course, that car steering that we handle every now and then, especially if more than one person drives such car. You understand? This must be important and this must be stressed because all of these surfaces, more than 1, 2, 3, 4, and other persons touch these surfaces regularly. And you just never can tell where they have brought their hands from or what they might have handled with their hands before touching those surfaces that we have mentioned about, that I have mentioned about. Equally, that remote control we use regularly at home because every member of the family or household will use it at one point or the other. Understand that? And so they might have touched different places as well or surfaces before coming to handle that remote control. So name it. Fomites abound, which we can't avoid. You must understand. Be it in our homes, be it in our workplaces, and just as I said, any other social gathering that we may find ourselves. So now, we must understand there are practical ways with which, if our hands are not being washed, that we might, through that same hand, get infections or, germs into our bodies. And one of such, to start with, is laying a practical example right from our eyes. You can imagine if my hands have not washed it all along for a while and the eyes start gets itchy. The tendency to pick one of my fingers and just start itching or scratching, as we say, in quote, deeply or vigorously, any of my eyes will get on. Directly or indirectly, I'm introducing some inoculum or inocula of microorganisms into the eyes. And through that, I can deposit some germs into the eyes, which may cause infection. A case in point is the popular viral conjunctivitis that we may have, or even bacterial conjunctivitis, which many do call Apollo. You understand that in some seasons in the year or in some time of the year, particularly during the dry season, it's so rampant that many persons have come down with it. And superstitiously, many do say, oh, they are trying to avoid viewing the next man who might have contracted it so that they also don't come down with it. You understand? But it is never so. The real reason behind this is because somebody has handled or touched a surface that has been that has been contaminated with the virus or bacteria that has caused it, and inadvertently had caused to itches our eyes or dip hands, fingers into the eyes to transmit that organism into the eyes, and later on coming down with the conjunctivitis, as the case may be. Another important thing that many don't think of or rather overlook is, imagine my hands, which I would using my same self again. Imagine I have not washed my hands for a long time and somebody extends a fruit to me to eat. And I just grab the fruits, I take it and start eating without taking necessary precaution either to wash my hands or even the fruits. You can imagine, so will diseases, germs be introduced into the mouth. And if I may be so unlucky, let it be microorganisms that may make me to start vomiting or stooling, and so will diarrhea illnesses start. That is one of the many ways if we don't take precautions in washing our hands. Another practical way which we must also never forget is, imagine still my same self as an example with my unclean hands or unwashed hands, and I have cause to prick my nose or dip fingers into my nose, which is rather crude, and we do emphasize not doing so. Again, you understand? By doing so, I'm introducing some bits of microorganisms into the nose, which, if my immunity or immune system cannot fight, I may come down with some form of infection or even cold, common cold as it may be, or even upper respiratory tract infections after some days. Another practical example is, if still my same unclean hands, using myself as an example now, if I've got to dip my fingers probably into my ears to itch, the same fingers which might have been unwashed or might have some microorganisms right on them and being dipped into my fingers, I'm rather introducing infections into the ear. And cumulative of such may make me come down with ear infections, which may even lead ear infections that may cause pus to start dripping from the ear. So these are many more the practical examples that we tend to overlook as humans whenever we go about our day-to-day activities, and we don't take cognizance of the need to wash our hands regularly. Now, having understood all of this, we must also identify individuals that are responsible or that are important in the course of washing hands. Against what many people might think that, it's members of the community out there that are responsible for the spread of illnesses or germs. However, WHO has rather identified that not only members of the community out there, but equally, healthcare workers are also important to break the spread of diseases or germs from one person to the other. Healthcare workers, from doctors to nurses to medical laboratory scientists to the health attendants or even carers in nursing homes and the likes, nutritionists, radiographers, and many more that we can think of are the health care workers. It's also important to identify that not only in the community, but also when we talk about washing of hands, it's important in the hospitals or healthcare settings. Be it the healthcare workers haven't taken care of before and after taking care of patients or residents and moving to the next patient or residents, even healthcare workers interacting with each other, or if they will have cause to get so close to each other, they must understand the essence of hand washing. And also, you must never forget, these healthcare workers, they will definitely return home after the day's work or shift. So if they don't wash hands quite well, they will spread infections right to the home. And from the home, members of their household, we also spread it to every other friends. And so will the spread of infection or disease or germs rather keep circulating around the world and everywhere. So all of this, when we understand this, we now need to know that yes, the duty of washing our hands regularly lies not only on one person, but every one of us as we go out there. And we must always have it at our subconscious level that this act must be done or adhered to regularly. And you can bet it with me, if we don't act by all of this, there are consequences. You will agree with me. And against what many may want to trivialize of this topic, the consequences abound. And I want to share a little with us of not washing our hands. Whoever is not washing hands regularly may definitely come down with infections that you will have to use your hard-earned money to buy medications for. Such funds can rather be diverted to other important things or household needs instead of trying to procure medications for us to be well. Or you can imagine an individual who has come down with an illness, maybe he or she may have cause to remain at home for one reason or the other, or spend some days at home and not go to work, or possibly have to be on hospital admission. Instead of staying at home or being on hospital admission, such person would have been at work if he or she had done the right thing. And to that work, and even to himself, you can imagine that's loss of man hours, loss of productivity, which may not be good for the workplace on the long run. Again, if you may want to trivialize not washing of our hands, one of the consequences again is the fact that one can spread such infections. I haven't come down with the infections actually. One can spread the germs to the next person or somebody close to us. And so also the other person may come down with infection. And so many of these abound, being consequences if we don't do the right thing. So having understood all of this, then we now need to know this hand washing of a thing. How do we go about it? Number one important thing is the use of water and washing liquids, or hand wash, as they say. It's important that when we wash, there are actually technical steps to washing of hands that is expected to last about 60 seconds. But without having to be technical or having to bore us, it's just important that when we wash our hands, we wash all surfaces of the hands. The palms, the middle of our fingers, the dozen of the hands, right underneath our nails, at the ankles, and even our thumbs. All of these sections must be touched. And of course, before having to wash the hands, it is advised that we first of all have to wet our hands with some volumes of water to make it wet by placing the hand right under a running tap to make it wet before putting on the wash liquid. And we go on to wash our hands by foaming, creating a lather right on all of these surfaces and even up to the ankles. Up to the wrist up to the wrist. And we get on to do all of this. And of course, return the same hand with lather right under a running tap and rinse the hands. It is also stressed that we should have had a what I can call a dry towel or a tissue to clean up our hands right after washing, and not just the regular napkin that every other person might have used and dropped down. All in a bid not to acquire some germs right on the hands again after washing. Another important thing that is stressed is the fact that if in the absence of water or a wash liquid close by, we can always get hand sanitizers. Alcohol-based hand sanitizers particularly. And these alcohol-based hand sanitizers they are known to kill over or about 99% of bacteria and viruses in the hands. And so we can use all of those as well in the absence of not having water to wash our hands close by. Then another important thing is if we are as individuals, we must be conscious of ourselves again. And if we know we've got common cold or illnesses that might have made us to be coughing into the hands or whatsoever, or touching the eyes and the likes all along, we should try and limit shaking our hands with the next man. If we are conscious and dutiful about this, then we care about the next man and we won't have to spread microorganisms. This, you will agree, many may not consider, but it's actually true, or it's actually important to be done. These and many more are what we must have in our minds and be sure that we get to do regularly in a bid to limit the spread of germs. And on the long run, if I should quickly add as well, in this time and age of what we call antimicrobial resistance in the medical world, which is the fact that many antibiotics or many microorganisms are rather becoming resistant to antibiotics, or because we've been using them either indiscriminately or repeatedly using them, and all these microorganisms have developed a form of protection or action against these antibiotics. So we have to use antibiotics of higher dimensions in a bid to take care of minor illnesses, if I should say. And this will cost us more, and this will cause us a great deal of harm as humans, because then researches and experiments will have to start gearing up to provide or produce more and more antibiotics for use. And the regular antibiotics that we may get, or that the GP or the doctor might prescribe for us, or the pharmacist, may not just work again. So you can see how problematic this can be if we don't really wake up to take care of what is to come. And may we not be consumed by all of this. You understand? And so, once again, I want to stress that washing our hands is quite important for us all and mankind generally. And it's also important that we act by what we have learned today so that we can get on well with life, one, two, and also equally help with life expectancy as it may be. So, listen to all of this, adhere to it, share it with loved ones, and you get going well with it. I wish us all well. I appreciate your time out with me, listening to all of what I've got to say, and I hope to see us more, or perhaps pick up some questions or clarifications that may be necessary for me to put my thoughts to, and for us to get enlightened more and more. Thank you for listening once again. I appreciate it.